So I just wanted to share some of the tips and tricks from our new DofE participant handbook over the course of the next couple of little videos. So who are we? Well, we're Raw Adventures. We've been delivering Duke of Edinburgh expeditions for over 15 years now across all corners of the UK, from the southeast of England to the northwest of Scotland. And that puts us in a great position to be able to give you loads of information, not only about how to make your expeditions safe, but how to make them a really good, adventurous experience as well for all of your participants, as well as making it easy to run for the DofE managers and give parents and guardians peace of mind that their young people are going to have a great, safe time too. So the length of your young people's DofE expedition will depend on what level they're at. The bronze expeditions are 2 days, silver are 3 and gold are 4. At each of those levels, they will do a practice expedition and a qualifier, and they'll take roughly the same format. The aim of that practice is to ensure that they are as well prepared as possible and as well trained as possible to have a really good, exciting and hopefully quite easy experience on their qualifier. That good preparation with all this information and their training from their leaders will make their qualifying expedition just a really good, memorable, enjoyable experience. So what we really want to do at Raw Adventures is empower the young people to go and do their expedition as independently as possible. But to allow them to do that, we need to know that they are well trained, which means that they're safe out on the hills. So that's what a lot of the content in here is and what we're going to talk about in these videos. It's all about giving the participants the right information and the right training so that they can have a safe and really memorable experience on their expedition. First thing we're going to look at is a bit about kit. So I've got a packed expedition rucksack here. I'm going to unpack this in a moment and we'll see what's in here and what we need to take with us. So in terms of kit, the first thing that we need is a rucksack to put everything in. It should look something like this. In terms of size, 60 to 70 litres is good. And I would just make sure it fits. Some rucksacks don't go down very small, so for some younger or smaller Duke of Edinburgh participants, might not fit them very well. So do make sure you try it on, just so that they have as comfortable a time as they can have. Once we've got our rucksack, we've got a load of stuff to put in it. First of all, we're going to think about what we're going to wear though. So kind of base layer, we want something that's not made of cotton, something that's a synthetic fibre, so either polyester or nylon is usually what people go for. And that's because it'll be warm even when it's wet and it dries quite quickly. On top of that, you want some kind of fleece, something like this. Or you can see what I'm wearing here is a slightly thinner version. For me, I like lots of thin layers. I find it easier to get my temperature right, to adjust those layers, but whatever suits really. And again, something polyester or nylon, not cotton. We then want to have some kind of warm jacket for those cold evenings on camp or the cold days if you're doing your expedition at the start or end of the season. That's something like this. These are super light and super warm. Loads of manufacturers will make these. They all look very similar. My tip on this would be avoid down. Down is a natural product and it really doesn't work well when it's wet. So go for something synthetic. This is an insulation called Primaloft, but every brand will have their own equivalent. So in terms of our trousers, similar principle to all of our other clothing. We want to avoid cotton. That goes for everything really. Shirts, trousers, underwear, the lot. Avoid cotton. It gets cold and it gets heavy and it doesn't dry when it's wet. Anything sold as a walking trouser will be good really. It'll be the right fabrics, it'll be the right kind of cut, it'll be quite robust and it should do quite a good job of keeping you warm. Remember, we've got our waterproof over trousers to go over the top if it starts raining anyway, so they don't need to be waterproof. You'll also need some socks to go inside your boots, and socks are a bit personal, to be honest. People get really wound up about socks, but just walking socks, just good, thick walking socks will do the job. Make sure you've tried them with your boots and the sock and boot combination matches your feet. That's probably the key thing to say. And there's nothing nicer than a clean pair of socks each day on an expedition. As much as we like to keep weight down, for me, that's a real luxury that is worth it. So carry some warm, dry socks ready for the next day. And then, sadly, we're doing these expeditions in the UK, which means it will rain at some point. So we need our waterproofs. I'm looking for a waterproof jacket, a bit like this one. This needs to have a hood. Otherwise the water will just get in down the back of your neck and you'll get soaked from the inside. And the other key thing we look for on jackets is that it's got taped seams. So that is a good indicator that this really is waterproof rather than shower proof. So taped seams is non-negotiable on jackets really if you want them to keep you dry. The same applies to trousers. Taped seam is what we're looking for. And we want these to be over trousers. These would go over the top of what you're wearing currently so that you can take them off again when it stops raining. And a really handy thing with these is if they've got a nice long zip in the leg, that means you can get them on over your boots. The last thing you want to do is be taking boots off when it's raining and you're still 2 hours from camp. It's just miserable. So a nice long zip if you can. Even in summer, it can get chilly, whether that's on camp in the evening or out and about. just because the weather's not great. So we always want to take a warm hat and a pair of gloves as well. If the weather is right, a bit like it is today, then you might choose a sun hat as well. Sunglasses, sun cream, all of that stuff. Don't forget about the sun, but the warm stuff is non-negotiable as well. You might be really glad of those in the evenings in camp. A little first aid kit, really important. This is just personal stuff, a few plasters, a few blister plasters, a little bandage, things like that. And if you have any personal medication, that is really important that it comes with you as well. We need to keep well fueled and well hydrated through the day. So a good reusable water bottle. You need to carry at least 2 litres worth on your expedition, so that's 2 of these. Make sure it's something robust, like soft plastic, single-use water bottles. They will split through the course of your expedition, and that is really not what you want. And obviously, you need some lunch as well. Loads of food, because you're going to be using loads of energy. I would say roughly double what you would eat on a normal day is roughly what you'll need for your expedition days. Finally, in terms of our daytime kit, you need a pair of boots. These need to have good ankle support. They need to have good tread on the bottom so that you're not going to slip and slide around. And a good lacing system all the way to the top. And it's this lacing system done well is what's going to A, keep you upright rather than falling over, and B, keep your feet dry and warm, and C, protect your feet and your ankles on some rougher ground. Please just make sure that you have worn them before. They are boots that fit you well and they're broken in. Be mindful of borrowing other people's boots. Whilst it's a great cost-effective thing to do, they still need to fit you. If your boots don't fit, you're going to have a pretty unpleasant time. Moving on to camp then. Once we've arrived in camp, we'll come to tents in a minute because that's group kit, but personal kit, you'll need a sleeping bag. Consider what time of year you're doing your expeditions. We had some go out recently in March and it got pretty chilly overnight. If you're going out in June, July, then it will be a little bit warmer, hopefully. So just consider that. Look at the comfort and extreme ratings on the sleeping bag. And I would recommend 3 seasons as a minimum, but 4's probably A, a bit too heavy, B, a bit too warm, and C, probably a bit more expensive than you need to pay for. You then need a mat to sleep on. It could be a foam mat like this. These are super cheap and really effective. Or you could spend a little bit more on an inflatable mat. Some are self-inflating, some you need to blow into. They are a little bit more comfortable. They pack down a bit smaller, a bit heavier, and a bit more expensive again. Once we get into camp, it's going to go dark at some point, so you need a head torch. A handheld torch is not much use. You need both hands to be doing things around camp. So a torch that's going to fit on your head, that is what we need. And then I'm sure as well, you don't want to forget dinner. We really like these things, fire pot meals. They're dehydrated meals, super light, lots of good energy in them, lots of good nutrition in them to fuel people ready for the next day of having another safe day out on the hills. There's loads of options on food. More of it is covered in your DofE handbook, and we'll probably come to it on another video a little bit later on in more detail as well.